Folks, welcome back to another reaction to Love is Blind. Today, I'm reacting to Season 5, Episodes 1 through 4 of Love is Blind. You're gonna wanna buckle your seatbelts, grab a cold one, and sit back because this one, you already know, is gonna be wild. Let's dive right into it. Before we jump in, there's a few things floating around the libverse that I wanna clear up. First, Lauren and I are not gonna be hosting Love is Blind, at least for the foreseeable future. Netflix and Kinetic are committed to the Lachey's, and that's the way it's likely to stay. I appreciate all the support. Lauren and I really love that you want to see us hosting a show, specifically a dating show, and that means a lot to us. We would really love to host a show. I want to help people find love the way that I found love. I would really love that. We are working on our own show, so you just gotta be patient with us, and we really, really appreciate all your support. You might be wondering, where is the better half of Team Hamilton? Well, Lauren talks about Love is Blind on her podcast. It's called We Have the Receipts. I'll put a link down in the description below if you want to check out her thoughts. And yes, I know we haven't made a YouTube video together in a long time, but fear not, because we have our 5th wedding anniversary that's coming up real soon. We have some content planned around that, so be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss when that content comes out. Now, as we delve into the murky depths of Season 5, I need us to agree on a couple of things. First, this is all for fun. This is not a critique of the cast members' characters. There's greater context. There's a lot that we don't get to see. And if you're a cast member and you feel like I got something wrong in my reaction, in my breakdowns, hit me up, send me a message, and we'll talk about it. We'll get it straight. Now, if there's one thing that every cast member from every season can agree on, it's that we could all benefit from therapy after going on Lib, which brings us to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. I believe therapy is a wonderful way to improve your mental health, whether you're going through a clinical issue like depression, you're a cast member on the most intense dating show ever filmed, or a human just having a hard time in life. Therapy can provide you with the tools to feel empowered and approach life differently. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more accessible and affordable, which is important because it can be tricky to find the right therapist, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. I found BetterHelp when I really needed someone to talk to, and I was impressed how quickly I was able to schedule an appointment. My biggest takeaway from therapy is the ability to look outside of my own experience and take on other perspectives, whether that's someone else's perspective or to look from a bird's eye view. It's also helped my marriage communication so that I have a better understanding of my partner, and that alone has made therapy worthwhile. BetterHelp makes finding a therapist easier because it's online and remote, and by filling out a few questions, you can get matched with a therapist in as little as a few days. Signing up is super easy. Just click the link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Hamiltons. Clicking that link helps support the channel, and it gets you 10% off your first month so you can connect with a therapist and see if it's helpful for you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't connect with that therapist, you can easily switch to a new one at no additional cost, and you don't have to worry about insurance, who's in your network, anything like that. I personally went through a few therapists before I finally found the one I connected with. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. You can click the link in my description or go to betterhelp.com/Hamiltons. Thank you again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. The title of episode 1 is So You're a Recent Cheater, and that lets us know exactly what to expect this season. The teaser video starts with naked bodies, explosive arguments, and a voiceover talking about feeling betrayed. And if I can offer a piece of advice to future cast members of Love is Blind, you don't need to get naked while the producers and the camera ops are in the room. You can, in fact, wait until they leave before you have sex in the shower. Now, I know that the producers may have told you that this will get you more camera time or that this will make your storyline stand out from the rest of the cast, but I'm here to tell you, you can still shine without getting naked while they're still in the room. Right out of the gate, we're treated to a date between Aaliyah and Milton. They're nerding out over geology, and I have to say, I'm Team Milton. I don't like to play favorites with the cast, but I really like how earnest he is, how he's not afraid to let his nerdy flag fly. He talks about being a competitive Pokémon player. I think that's later in episode 3. but I just really like the guy. He does seem to have still a young mentality. He talks younger, using younger slang or just the cadence of how he talks. But I think as we see the episodes progress, he does show some maturity and a willingness to grow. So I'm really team Milton. You can tell right away that Lydia is not feeling the fact that he's 6 years younger, that he's 24, but he does his best to try to convince her that this is fine, that they can make it work. Next up, we have Izzy, who really seems to be the focal point of this season. We see him so much in the teaser, and we see him connecting with 3 women right out of the gate: Lydia, Johnny, and Stacy. And Lauren and I were talking about this. I think if you go on Lib and you're good at having conversations with people, you find it pretty easy to make connections. Just being a good conversationalist will put you head and shoulders above the rest of the people. So Izzy is definitely good at talking. He's flirtatious, he's very direct in his communication, which is great. He's very honest and vulnerable. That helps him connect. And we see these 3 women, Johnny, Stacy, and Lydia, all connect with him right out of the gate. I like the guy. I think he's charismatic. I have the feeling that he's gonna lead to some drama later on in the season. But yeah, he's definitely the focal point of this season, you can already tell. We then see Izzy break things off with Lydia, and he does it in a respectful way. Lydia is still very hurt about it. She lets us know that she's craving love, she's craving affection, and quickly we see her go back to Milton, who it seemed like she had ruled Milton out, but now she's trying to rekindle things with him. And I just felt like, is she really into Milton, or does she just want that affection and love and attention from somebody? That's how I was feeling. We also see Izzy's date with Stacy, but we don't really get a good sense of what's connecting them together. We do see that Stacy has a very strong personality. In the teaser, we see her cussing someone out, but we'll return to Stacy in a moment. Now, I don't have much to say about JP and Taylor. I do think JP seems like a very earnest guy, a very genuine guy. He's a straight shooter. Clearly a very patriotic guy, as he lets us know. It's obvious to me that JP and Taylor are gonna get engaged. Just their whole energy, they've got good chemistry with each other, and it seems very much obvious that they're gonna get engaged. Now, if I can get serious for a moment, I wanna talk about the date between Chris and Johnny. On their date, Chris opens up about being in a previous relationship where he was coerced into sex. And this date really resonated with me because it's 2023 and there's still a stigma around men opening up about experiencing sex in different forms. It's looked at as, you know, men, it doesn't happen with men, or men should be able to avoid it, but that's not always the case. I personally have a connection to this because in a past relationship, many years ago, long before Lauren, I had also experienced and it was something that's obviously stayed with me since then. And it was something that I didn't talk about. So hearing Chris talk about it is very powerful, and I really would love to see more men talk about it and more people in general who have gone through it, because I think the more people that are able to talk about it, the better it is for helping them heal, helping to find resources to help these people. I know that it can be really hard to talk about, and there's a lot of reasons that people don't want to talk about it, but I really commend Chris for talking about it. And it was just really powerful that he was willing to be vulnerable with Johnny in this way. And then we come to Uche and Aaliyah. Now they start off with super strong chemistry. They're vibing about their mutual love for poetry. And then Uche asks Aaliyah, have you ever been unfaithful in a previous relationship? She admits, yes, she has been unfaithful in a previous relationship. She cheated on her boyfriend of 2 years ago. She says that she was unsatisfied for 2.5 years before she cheated on him. She tried everything she could to improve their sex life and nothing worked. And at this point, we see Uche pull back from Aaliyah. We see him follow up with all these questions, really sort of sounding hurt. That's how I interpreted it, that he really sounded hurt. And he asks her, hey, why didn't you just break it off with him? You could have done that instead of cheating. She says that she just didn't want to be alone. And she was scared that she wouldn't find someone that had the good qualities of this ex-boyfriend. She then interprets his response to her as he's judging her, that he thinks less of her. For me, when I saw it, I interpreted it like he was scared. He was starting to see himself with Aaliyah, and now she's telling him that she cheated in a past relationship. And I think it's natural when someone tells you they've cheated in the past to wonder, well, will they cheat with me? You know, what makes me different that they'll be faithful to me where they cheated in the past? They tell me that they're unsatisfied, can we work through this? So I think that Uche's reaction was natural. I think he did kind of come at her strong with the questions. His tone was a little strong, but I do think it's natural to have that reaction. And we see as the episode progresses and in the next episodes that he seems to handle it fairly maturely. He is willing to try to consider her perspective, what she's gone through. I'm not condemning Aaliyah here. I'm simply talking about the reaction that was had. But he seems to handle it very maturely, to be willing to try to consider things from her perspective and to try to move past it. So I want to hear what you think in the comments below. You know, what do you make of this Aaliyah Uche situation? Would you be able to continue dating someone if you knew they had cheated in a past relationship? Is that a deal breaker for you? Or do you feel like once a cheater, always a cheater? So very curious to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments below, but that is it for episode 1. 3 more to go. In episode 2, Milton admits that he has a hard time being vulnerable, and then he proceeds to tell this very vulnerable story about how he injured his spine playing basketball. And I have to say, I really appreciated him telling this story. And then I laughed when Lydia said, oh, so you're telling me you're tall. Now, clearly she was just trying to make light of the situation and comfort him. And I think she does a good job of that in this moment. And she is very supportive of him. I also appreciated JP's vulnerability on his date with Taylor when he talks about how his mom abused his sisters. And I really wasn't expecting that from JP. But he is very vulnerable and he's just very honest and straightforward. I like that about the guy. Like Milton, he seems to be earnest, he seems to be honest, and you could tell that Taylor was very receptive to him and his vulnerability here. And when JP proposes to Taylor, it really felt genuine. It felt like he really does love her and he wanted to get married to her. And as for Taylor, it does seem like she cares about him as well. I still feel like there's more that we could know about her feelings towards him and about her character, her personhood as well. We don't get to see a lot of that. All we really hear from Taylor is that she's a teacher and that she now loves herself where before she didn't. And for anyone who's watching this show and who still doesn't understand how people are able to fall in love so quickly, you have to consider this environment. I have to take my hats off to Kinetic for creating this environment where you're going on dates 16 hours a day for 10 days and you don't have any connection to the outside world. You're talking only about dating, love, relationships. You know, you might have side conversations here and there with the guys and the girls respectively, but you are very much zoned into dating. And that's really all you're thinking about during that time. It kind of goes to show you when you really focus on dating, on finding that person, on evaluating yourself, what you need, what you bring to the table, all these sorts of things, it can be very fast if you're really focused and committed to it. I will say that on every season, there are people who are there to get famous or just to be on TV or whatever, but there are also on every season people who are very genuine and who are looking for love, or at least willing to find love if they encounter it. Uche and Aaliyah returned to their cheating discussion, and I have to give Aaliyah her props for being honest about cheating, because she could have easily just said no when he asked if she'd ever been unfaithful. And they seem to be having a mature discussion about this and working through it. I'm impressed that Uche is willing to work through it. And again, I want to hear y'all's thoughts. Now, Chris and Johnny seem to be really good for each other. They're opening up, they're having good conversation, they're having fun, but there doesn't seem to be that spark there. They seem to have friend chemistry. Izzy and Johnny, on the other hand, do seem to have that spark. They're very flirtatious, we can see the romance there, but we find out that Izzy is just not into Johnny as Johnny is into Izzy, and that comes when Johnny opens up about her past relationship with her ex-husband, where she admits that she never actually loved her ex-husband. She actually says that she saw her ex-husband as a rebound from the only man that she ever loved, which was her ex-boyfriend before that. She said that this ex-boyfriend wasn't really good for her, but she still loved him. And that's just very interesting to hear her call her her ex-husband a rebound. And right away we see Izzy immediately fearful of this and react in a way where I'm sure he's putting it in his mind that, what if I become this woman's husband? Is she not gonna love me just like she didn't love her ex-husband? That's how I interpreted it. And again, I'd love to hear what you think. Episode 3 opens with JP and Taylor's reveal ceremony, and my man comes in with a really strong kiss. I mean, hey, kudos to you, man. You can tell he really, really likes Taylor, that he's in love with her, and he really goes for it. I really couldn't get a good read on how Taylor felt about him. She does seem to like him. Does she love him? I can't quite tell. And I kept rewatching this scene, trying to read her body language. There's some awkward moments there, some awkward pauses. She does mention that had she met him in the outside world and she saw the gap in his teeth, that she may have passed on him. I do think that she likes him. I think it's all a lot for her to process at this point, and maybe she's not head over heels for him at this point. We get to see more of Stacy and Izzy's dates, but for me, I just felt like I wasn't getting a sense of what is bonding them together. How are they forming these connections? Stacy explicitly says that she's not really interested in being vulnerable. She says in life, you want a partner that you can have fun with and that's gonna make you happy, that's gonna make your life more enjoyable. Why do you wanna spend all this time getting emotional all the time, getting vulnerable? That's not fun. I see where she's going with this. I do think that you need to be vulnerable in order to form a deeper connection with someone. You know, we can all empathize with having friends that we just go out with them to have fun, we hang out with them, it's a blast, but we don't know them on a deeper level. And I think when you are married to someone, you need that. You need that person who's gonna be there for you in sickness and health, richer and poor. You really do need that, because it's not always gonna be sunshine and rainbows. We all know this. So I would have liked to have seen more of their dates, or just more content where we see what's really connecting them together, because maybe there is more there. That was my major complaint of season 4, is like these couples are all getting engaged and we just don't know why they're into each other. We just don't see it. But I think we're seeing a little bit more in this season, and I would have liked to see it more with Izzy and Stacy. We see Izzy break things off with Johnny, and of course Johnny gets really upset about this. The rationale for why he broke it off with her seems to be because she said she never loved her ex-husband. I'm assuming, again, as we just said in the previous episode, this is because Izzy is thinking, well, maybe she won't love me. Maybe she'll never develop those deep feelings for me. So that is a scary notion. He breaks things off with her. After this, we see Johnny sort of double back and reconsider Chris. Now, you've probably heard me say this before, but I really, really, really do not like when people double back and go with their second choice for a partner, and especially when it's to the point where they're like, okay, yeah, now I'm gonna get engaged to this other person, where before I was ready to get engaged to my first choice. I just really don't like to see it. Now, I have had cast members come to me and tell me that yes, I was on the borderline between two people. I could see myself getting engaged to one of two people. For me personally, of course, I had a different experience. When I met Lauren, that was really it. Sure, I had fun talking to people on dates and going through the dates, you know, even being flirtatious, but I knew from the second date with Lauren that, yeah, this is the person I'm locking in with. And I really, by the fifth date, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to marry this woman. And probably even earlier than that. I just don't understand it personally, but that doesn't mean that these people's experiences are not valid. I just don't understand it, and I don't like when people seem like they're second choice for people. I feel some type of way about that. But again, I've had casts tell me that they really could see themselves getting engaged to two people. For me, I don't see how that's possible, but that's not my experience, that's theirs. I was really happy to see Chris stand up for himself and say, you know what, I really, really like you. I pictured myself walking out of here with you, but I have to think about myself, have to value myself, and for that reason, I'm gonna walk away. So I really respected that and appreciated that for him. And then the episode wraps up with the reveal from Uche that he and Lydia used to date. And that's the big bombshell they drop on us at the end of episode 3. We start out episode 4 with this revelation that Uche and Lydia used to date. At first, I didn't quite understand why Aaliyah was so upset learning this until I realized that Lydia had been comforting her this entire time about Uche, and she kept repeating over and over again that you and I are the same, we're so much alike, I see myself in you. And at the time, I took this from Lydia as being a projection because at the time she'd gotten rejected by Izzy, so I felt like she was condemning Uche because of how Izzy had made her feel. But then we learned that her and Uche had dated in the past, and in fact, they had been together as recently as 3 months ago, where they had had sex. And when Aaliyah hears this, she just loses it, right? And leading up to this, she goes to Lydia, she tells Lydia, hey, Uche told me that y'all used to date. They have some crying, and then Aaliyah's like, we can work through this, you know, it's gonna be okay. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna work through this. And then Lydia starts telling her about how her and Uche used to date, all the things she knows about him. And you see Aaliyah being like, hey, I don't wanna hear it. Like, I wanna have my own experience with this guy. Lydia ignores that and just keeps telling her all this stuff about how her and Uche used to be and all the stuff she learned. Now, when I heard this, when I saw this scene happening, I just pictured the producers in the control room, you know, that room with all the monitors where they're watching all the cameras. I just pictured the producers in there just celebrating, like literally dancing up and down, popping champagne bottles. And probably they celebrated when they first learned that Uche and Lydia used to date. I don't know where in the casting process that was discovered, but you better believe the producers were celebrating at this point, because man, what a piece of drama they uncovered there. As I said about episode 3, I'm just not seeing it for Izzy and Stacy. We don't get to see why they're so bonded together. Yes, they have these flirtatious dates. They know how to have good chemistry with each other, but we're not seeing the vulnerability. And when Izzy asks her how she feels about the L word, she says, yeah, I'm working up to it. I'm getting in the ballpark of it. But yet, in this same episode, we see them get engaged. She accepts a proposal from Izzy. And for me, this is one of my top 3 sort of pet peeves, things I don't like to see in the show. Because when you think about dating and relationships in the outside world, I mean, it would be crazy to think about people getting engaged without establishing that they love each other. Now, I respect that she didn't say I love you if she didn't actually mean it. I don't like when people say it when they don't really mean it. It's such a powerful phrase that I think people should only say I love you when they really do mean it. Nonetheless, I don't think it makes sense to get engaged if you haven't established that you love each other. So that's one of my pet peeves about this show. So I have 3 pet peeves about this show, and it's not the fault of the show per se. It's more so I feel like the environment maybe creates pressure for people to think that they just have to keep pushing forward with the show or they want to be on TV. I'm not saying that's the case with Stacy, and Stacy, I respect that you were honest about how you felt. So we established, I don't like when there's this second choice situation going on when people, when they get turned down by their first choice, will go to their second choice and do it in a hurry. I don't like when people get engaged when they clearly are not ready to say I love you. I think kind of jumping the gun a little bit there. Now with Milton and Lydia, we see that they also get engaged, and it's kind of a gradual process of them getting there. And I have to say, I'm afraid she's gonna break his heart. I just think she's gonna break his poor little heart, and it's that, or it's either gonna be he decides he's just not ready for marriage at this point. So I see one of the 2 scenarios, at which point that would break her heart, I'm sure, if he decides he's not ready. But I am afraid she's gonna break his heart. So that is my review of the first 4 episodes of season 5 of Love is Blind. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I wanna cover the entirety of season 5 of Love is Blind. I wanna give you my reactions. In this video, I tried to give you my raw reactions. I tried not to be too calculated or too political, let's say, in my answers. That's how I felt about the answers. And again, to the cast, you know, I am not criticizing your character. There's obviously more context than was shown here. That's always how it is. You know, I would love to have a discussion with you about your experience on the show. Maybe we can even put it up here on our channel. Let me know, and until next time, I'll see you very soon.